Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. as we get to ride home with you in the afternoon. It's always such a fun ride. You can find us on television. We are syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. And we're very happy to announce we are on the radio with you as well. So that's just another avenue for you. Classic Country, WZLA, and that's 92.9 FM in Abbeville, South Carolina. So glad to be there with them as well. Continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com. That's Donna@donnasedge.com. Continue watching us on all the social media sites as well. Okay, you guys are all ready. Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey there with Alabama Fair Tax, and I'm excited about Fair Tax, and I know a number of your community is growing. A number of others are excited about that as well. And you've got a few emails that indicate that. A lot of them the same thing, but let's go ahead and get started. First of all, for the new folks out there in WZLA Radio Land, what is Fair Tax?
Fair tax is a total replacement of the current income tax with a consumption tax that's only on new goods and services you buy at retail for personal use. And it gets rid of all the income tax and
all of the income taxes,
all of it,
including Social Security and Medicare.
Social Security is included in the consumption tax you pay under the fair tax. So, what you do is get rid of all the cost of collecting and all the headaches that you have to go through to fill out all those forms, and all that stuff goes away. And you just buy something, you pay the tax, and you're done with your federal taxes until the next time you buy something new.
And it collects the same amount of income. Yes, it's revenue neutral. It collects the same amount of income as the income tax does.
Does this basically work the same way in all 50 states when it comes to the federal level?
It would. It would be the same. System totally across the states.
I think Hawaii and Alaska. I think.
That's right. We're considered the lower 48, and that means that. If you're in Hawaii or Alaska, your prebate's a little higher because their cost of living is a lot more than where we live, of course.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the prebate is a refund of taxes up to the poverty level for anyone who applies, any American citizen who applies for it, and it covers all of the taxes that you would pay up to the poverty level on new goods and services.
It replaces that unequal standard deduction that you get out of the income tax.
And actually, once you pay the tax, you don't tax anything again. And used items are not taxed because they already include the cost of the tax in the item.
Mm-hmm. In the Abbeville, South Carolina, and existing communities, we have a lot of small business owners. Mm-hmm. So what does this say to the small business owner?
It says you're made free from all that paperwork and everything you had to do at one time, turning somebody's Social Security in and all that kind of stuff. The small business will still have to report that you work for them and that you make enough money to be eligible to collect the Social Security, and that's about it. They don't have to tell them how much you've made or anything like that. They just have to report that you're an employee, and
there's no employees tax.
No tax at all.
It's just a one-time, and for the consumer, it's wonderful. You don't have to keep receipts. Once you pay the tax, nobody can come after you again. You don't keep receipts, or you can if you want to, of course, but you don't have to. And the tax, you don't give an interest-free loan to the government an interest-free loan to the government for a year before you get your money back.
Before you beg for your return.
Exactly,
back.
Until you prove that you deserve to have the money back.
Oh, that's another thing. Under the income tax, you're guilty until proven innocent. And under the fair tax, you're innocent until proven guilty if you've got a problem. Mm-hmm. And if the government's wrong, they have to pay for your court fees. So it's just a much better system.
Yeah. And to find out more about it, the bill is very small. But if you see the red book up here behind me, The Fair Tax, The Truth, it's an enjoyable read, and you can get it on audio if you want to listen to it in your car or while you're traveling. But it's a short paperback, and and actually you can't get them new. You can only get them used, so they're even cheaper than they were when they first came out. It's
And let me mention this to the folks out there too. Continue sending email questions for Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey with Fair Tax. If you continue doing that, we have a drawing when you guys are on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really, really neat because you can actually win that book.
Yes. We buy up all those books that we can get a hold of. And so we're really glad to pass them out to people and ask that if you get a book, that you pass it on to your friends and, let everybody know about it. Because one of the main problems that we have for passing the bill is that people don't know about it. And we're all volunteers. We don't get paid. So, it's not something that we can't get a lot of volunteers to do the job.
People just don't want to help you with getting rid of the tax. I don't understand that.
Right. Well, it sounds too good to be true. And a little bit of history between me and you guys is we were in Alabama, had a show there, a radio station there as well. And so I was told by my friend Ann that I really need to check you guys out and that you were coming into town. And so, I mean, it just because, and I looked at Ann and I said, that just sounds too good to be true to me, and she said, well, go listen to it. So anyway, I went and I listened, and you guys had me as a business owner because I own my own show. So you guys had me like that day.
Yeah, you were easy. You were very easy.
Well, you saved me some money. Yeah, but I had gotten a letter from the IRS with a guesstimate telling me I owed $10,000, and that went back way past the 7 years. And so, it grabbed my attention pretty quick because I thought I was going to have to pay $10,000. Now I had to prove that I was innocent. And I remember you guys mentioning that I had to prove I was innocent over something that happened over 12 years prior to that.
Right.
And so, you had me on there ever since. Now I know there's going to be a race now between Alabama and South Carolina. Who's going to get it first?
Well,
Okay.
We're hoping for Alabama, but we certainly will. We'll take it wherever we can get it. Actually, to find out what our Alabama bill is, if you go to alfairtax.org, you can read. Chuck named the bill instead of calling it the Alabama Fair Tax. He calls it the Alabama Economic Freedom Act
Because that's what it is.
It is freedom.
Yes. But we have on the very first part of the website, it says Understanding the Alabama Economic Freedom Act. It's one page, and then on the back it shows the prebate, and you can see what the prebate is for whatever your family circumstance is, because it's based on family circumstance, has nothing to do with income. We don't need to know your income. Nobody needs to know your income, and you don't even have to apply for the prebate unless if you don't want to. And there are people who would.
I'll be first in line. But let's talk a little bit more about the prebate, because a number of your questions are about that.
Okay.
And, how is it paid out? Those kinds of things are the questions that people are asking. And what does it have to do with the size of your family?
Well, actually the payout, first of all, is fairly easy. It would be done however the state wants to do it. And generally, I don't think there is any state that doesn't have EBT cards or whatever, and it could be paid out in the same sort of way. Or also, federally, Social Security is sent out each month to all Social Security recipients, and it could just be added to that. So
either way, there are mechanisms already in place to actually do that. They don't have to go design a whole new facility to do it.
Actually, when the Fair Tax was the first day concept, there were credit cards that said fee free. They would pass out credit cards with that that amount of money on there every month.
There would be credit card companies.
I'm sorry. Yes, credit card companies, and they would take that on. Now I can understand why they would want to do that, hoping that you would spend the money with their credit card, and then maybe spend a little more with their credit card.
Yeah, and then the little packet that brings you your check each month, or however you get it, there'll be this little advertisement for what they're trying to get you to buy. You know, that's
Well,
pretty
but
smart
it'd be a free way,
marketing.
free way to distribute the money.
And it
It'd be
wouldn't
like
cost the
getting
government anything.
no, it'd be like getting a gift card. I don't know that that's still in the work. I mean, that was
Probably
that
not.
was 25 years ago, so it's probably not something they're offering now, although they could. So,
It'd be foolish.
but
not
it
to.
wouldn't be difficult. It wouldn't be something that that you'd have to go and apply for the. You once a year you would have to fill out a one-page form just saying, you know, these are the people in our family, and these are the social security numbers, and that's how it would be handled.
And by the way, we live in the USA for American citizenship. In Alabama, you have to have both. You have to have a U.S. citizenship and Alabama residency.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
That's been the response on several folks who responded to that. Was it seemed as if, you know, because you're an American citizen, it's something that only American citizens would receive.
Mhm.
that's right.
Yeah.
The rebate would only go to real live, no kidding American citizens, or in the case of the Alabama Economic Freedom Act, to Alabamians who are also Alabama residents.
But everyone who purchases something in the United States, a new good or service in the United States, would pay the tax. So and those who are not citizens would not receive the prebate.
So
And
for
that's
Alabama,
fair to American citizens. Finally, a break for
Yeah.
this whole thing is very, very, very family oriented, because it takes all the incentives out of the income tax system that has killed practically the nuclear family. So
Yeah.
you know, you're totally free under this system to spend your money however you want to, because whenever you buy new goods and products or new goods and services, you're going to pay your tax for that time.
It also makes April kind of a nice month.
Yeah. April 15th just becomes another beautiful spring day.
Yeah.
that's really nice. Now I've got a question from Crystal, and Crystal's question was: is there a limit to children that you can have that would actually?
That's the other family friendly part.
We want more children. I can, you know, the whole world actually is depopulating, and that
Take a
is
sheet of paper over there. Under this system, you'll normally see a chart like
This
this,
is the prebate chart.
and on here it shows the prebate for a family of a single person with up to, was that 7 kids?
I just had my eyes dilated.
Okay, I'll put
Yeah,
my
doctor, so I
glasses
can't
on.
see anything.
No, I'll put my glasses on. All right, this particular chart says it's worked out for single person up to 7 children and a couple up to 7 children. But then there's a little note down there that says add $5,500 per child past that you
That's per year.
that you don't have to pay taxes on.
Is that for Alabama? Or is that for?
That's for Alabama and federal, because just the eligibility is the same for both the federal and the state.
For the
It's just the amount of money you're going to be smaller because the tax is smaller.
right, it's divided by 12, so you get one payment each month for the family, and then when you have an 18-year-old, then they can apply singly, and they would get their own fair tax.
So another question. Actually, that was a question by Cindy, who would ask about that. When are the kids going to be out of the roost?
Yeah, it's at 18, but that it's funny because I was just talking to my daughter, and she said we were both commiserating about how the first time we took our children to the doctor when they turned 18, and how the doctor said, "Well, do you want your mother in here?" I was not allowed. And when our son needed his medical records for school, I couldn't get them. He had to get them. So yeah, but it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so family friendly, you know.
So what will happen is the young adult that's past the age of reason will be able to apply for the prebate, and then they'll double check that back with the family, and it'll be taken off the family. So it's hard to cheat on this system.
Yeah, I don't think it's the age of reason though, because I don't know.
The age of reason is about 50.
Well, let me ask you a
Yeah.
question, because there are some kids who are living in the basement of their parents' house, living
Yeah.
in their 30s. Does that also apply to them? Do they have to have a job for this to happen?
No,
There's
no,
no-
no, it's-
No,
no, no. It's,
no, they just can't be on your parents' rebate selection.
yeah, yeah. Well, they'll be paying taxes whenever they purchase new goods or services. So, yeah, they would get the rebate too.
Mhm. Wow,
So-
I want to see this thing happen. I really do, and I really don't care which state it happens in, because I think it's going to be. It'll be like a snowball effect. When one state does it, everybody else is going to want to do it.
That's
But let's talk about the benefit. So let's just say if the state of South Carolina decides to do it first, what is that going to say about industry coming into the state?
It will be a big draw for industry. Currently, most states give preferential tax treatment to new companies coming in to woo them. Well, there's no corporate tax, and corporate tax is an income tax, and it is not included. So it's not. There's no more corporate income tax, which will absolutely be a draw for the for companies. And what it will also do is bring their subsidiaries into it too, because then they can purchase the things that they use to build whatever it is they're building, without that corporate tax included. So it's incredibly, industry. What am I trying to say? It will bring people. It will bring people in.
Yeah, and go back to the
Businesses in.
advantages for small business, and that's another thing is that if you don't have a corporate tax or any kind of tax like that, there's no business to business tax. In other words, all the parts that go into making up a car would be untaxed to the car manufacturer, and then a car manufacturer would not be taxed corporate taxes. So none of those businesses will have to pay any tax. And then finally, when the car is sold, the dealer figures out what the tax is supposed to be on, and that's where the tax is charged. So there's no buildup of embedded taxes in the price of everything, because there aren't any taxes to build up into the price of everything.
And for small business owners too, I know one thing that was a big draw. We had one of the candidates running for office in our state one time was at one of our presentations, and when he heard that there was no more employer's tax, in other words, Social Security, he brightened up immediately. He said, "You mean there's no more employer's tax?" And no, it's collected at retail, which is where it's paid anyway, because that all of those taxes you're still paying them. They're just rolled up into the cost of the item. It's like a VAT, except that
No paperwork.
there's no paperwork involved, and it's also not hidden. With the VAT, the tax is actually a hidden tax. You don't know how much you're paying.
Well, I
And
really do this sometimes because you feel like you're a target with the IRS. Because I'm a conservative talk show host. You better believe I make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And I've got a great person. Jana does my books, my taxes here. So I'm really happy. But she's a conservative, by the way, as well. And so I asked her thoughts about fair tax, and she'd heard about it too. She said, "Oh, girl, I'm on the game." She said, "I'm ready for it." And I said, "Well, I said, the person who did my taxes in Alabama said the same thing you did." And I said, "What would you do?" And she said, "I would just help businesses make a profit. Finally, I could be the voice of good news instead of bad news."
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of CPAs that are really interested, or that are, part of our movement, because that's a very stressful time of year for them. And besides that, with the tax law changing every year the way it does, they have new things to learn every year in order
To a person, I think the answer has always been for us that yes, I would rather be helping a guy grow his business and helping him make money rather than telling him, "Oh, sorry about that, but you got a bunch of money you got to pay because you didn't do this." That's baloney.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was the genesis of the fair tax. About 30 years or so ago, there were some billionaires who said, if we didn't have to spend so much time trying to work around the tax system, we could actually really put that time towards our businesses and actually improve our businesses. And that was how it came out, or how it started. So
most people don't realize the amount of money that small business and corporations waste in meetings and things like that, trying to figure out, well, how, we got this new tax law that's coming out, how we're going to handle that. So you got to waste a bunch of time figuring out how you're going to keep yourself out of trouble with the IRS or the ADOR in the state of Alabama, the Alabama Department of Revenue. And all of that time goes toward, hey, what can we do to make a better product and get that product on the shelves out there and make a little profit for our shareholders? It's a completely different mindset.
Well, when you're a big business and you spend a lot of money every month just on a tax attorney.
Yeah. Well, not only that,
filling out all the forms and all that stuff they have to do.
Really big businesses like GM or Boeing, or they actually have to provide an office area, and in some cases a whole floor for the IRS to monitor them. So it actually, the cost of items can come down. There's the embedded taxes, which is what Chuck was talking about earlier. All the costs that the tax costs that go into building a product can come out immediately, and those embedded taxes range from 16 to 28%, and they maybe even more than that now. And all of those are just the paperwork and the money that is spent, doing your taxes.
I like to call it all that non-value added effort.
Right.
It's dollar bills being burnt and nothing coming out of it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it is. So let's talk about businesses. Let's say Bobby Ledbetter with Twin City Used Car Sales, one of our sponsors, who stayed with us even though we moved to South Carolina. Let's talk about folks who sell used product.
Mm-hmm.
What's that going to mean for that business?
They wouldn't be liable for any taxes unless he got a hold of a new car to sell.
Mm-hmm. Now, those taxes have already been paid. So the cars that he's selling have already been taxed. The tax is already built into the cost of the car. So there would be no additional taxes added.
Well, where he'll pay taxes if any maintenance he does on the car, of course, the new parts and stuff like that, he has to repair the car with. That'll be taxed because it's new stuff, and his service will be taxed. But that'll be the limit of what he has to tax. Mm-hmm. And he'll rather do that than keep up all the books and all the other stuff he's been having to do.
Another thing that we didn't mention too was that the cost of the tax. Even though you get on your receipts, you'll see how much tax is included in the cost. The cost that you see on the shelf, like if you see a lamp for $100, for instance, you pay $100. You don't pay $100 in whatever cents, extra dollars. It's the cost that you see. So, I was thinking when our children were very young, it wasn't just me, friends of ours would maybe go to get a carton of milk. And then they'd look and think, oh, gosh, I don't have enough money. I've got money to buy the milk, but I don't have enough money to pay the tax. And so I remember a friend of mine digging through the bottom, under the seats of the car and between the seats to see if she could find enough change to pay the tax.
We call that the miracle of the embedded. No, it's not. It's not embedded. What's the word? Inclusive tax.
Yeah, it is an inclusive tax. So.
Because the tax is included in the price that's on the shelf, and you in your head that it's at the federal level it's 23%. Remember that replaces all that other tax, so don't get bent out of shape over 23%. Plus the prebate brings that down to lower than that for your family size.
Well, it includes its Social Security, Medicare too.
And then the second part of that is in Alabama it's 6.5%, but at the same time spending up to whatever your poverty level is zero. So, the tax up to the poverty level for your situation zero. So, all of that stuff goes away, and it's included in the price, and you don't have to worry about adding all that. If you go over there and you tote it up as being $70, it's going to be $70 when you lay the money down.
Yeah, it's actually interesting too when you're on a limited budget. Like if you're going to the grocery store and you're putting things in your cart, and you think, okay, I can. This is this much, and so on. You've got enough money. you know that when you get to the register, you're not going to have to up that by whatever amount. So,
well, I mean, think about this. You go to the grocery store and you spend $100. Well, that's $100 on the depending on where you live. Some people will be adding an extra $9-10 to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, and I've been at a time. I've been divorced before, so I've been at a time that extra $10 I could have used on something else.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I've
so-
seen people leave things at the register because they couldn't afford to pay the tax.
Mhm.
So that's a sad situation. It's unfortunate that happens, but I have seen it happen.
Mhm.
So,
But for a business, you know, we're talking about, you know, because time is money too. You know, so time I'm not going to have to spend on that, worrying about it, get this dreaded letter from the IRS. It's never a Christmas card. It's always that you've done something.
Yeah.
Are they in?
you never want to receive.
It's always a dearly beloved card.
I don't know how many times I had one of the previous owners who lived here. Well, I didn't pay any attention to the address. It was to them. It wasn't to me. But I still went, oh, you know, when I saw the IRS, because I stay on their list, I'm sure, all the time because of the show. And so, you know, you just use that dreaded letter you see from them. You know, so
Yeah, your dread detector went off. Your dread detector went way off.
Yeah.
So I just concentrate on anything else until I call the IRS and find out what in the world they say I've done this time. You know, so and I'm just it's just a freedom. I mean, it is a freedom not to have to worry about those things. And again, people who do taxes, you know, you sell used items, you know, along with your new items as well. But I just can't see anything but a win-win on this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Neil Bortz said when they were first introducing the bill, said it's the largest transfer of power from the government to the people since the Revolutionary War. And that's why we're having trouble getting it passed, because government doesn't like power. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know something? I'm seeing a new trend happening here. I think there's about to be a changeover of power due to what happened a few weeks ago, you know, and we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about that when we come back from break. We're going to a break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay?
Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters, television and radio at this point. So we are so glad to be with 2.9, located right here in Abbeville, WZLA. WZ is in zebra, LA. And it's a real good station to be with. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this. They only air the classic country music. Okay, so I'm just into the old stuff. I know I love George Jones and Tammy Wynette, and I like those kind in the 70s, Alabama. Those I just don't. I'm not into I don't know. It sounds like country rap.
Yeah.
The world. So anyway, they don't play that mess. They play the classics, the oldies, and in the 80s and 90s. Some they still have new songs, but it's just not country rap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the older songs like Bell Bottom Pants, they just keep coming back, and they keep cycling back into the cycle.
If you live long enough, you'll live your childhood again.
Oh my goodness, we went shopping, had my daughter-in-law with me, Larissa. The one who when we were moving, and she picked up a box and said, "What's this?" And it was an 8-track tape. And I said, "Get lost." So anyway, we're shopping, and she said, "Look at these pants. It looks like stuff you would have worn." And they're coming back. They're the bell bottoms that we're in. And I said, "Go somewhere. Just go somewhere." So what's old is new again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get on to another topic, can I mention one more thing about Alabama's fair tax? Mm-hmm. We want to include the property tax in our bill, and it can be done for a small amount of money. And at that point, if you pay off your mortgage and you own your home, you will actually own your home. You will not have to rent it from the state. Currently, the state owns all of the property in Alabama, and we have to rent it.
Yeah, if you don't believe that, don't pay your taxes next year.
Yeah. So
this year.
Okay,
so I
let's
just wanted to mention
that tangent, because that's one that's been brought up right here in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's people who are losing family farms, just like in Alabama. The parents or the grandparents pass away, and the kids have to decide how we're going to do this and not pay like forever. There are families who actually have to get a loan to pay for the taxes if somebody doesn't want to buy it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, actually, in Texas, my sister and brother live in Texas, and my sister is familiar with people who have had to get a mortgage on their home in order to pay their taxes. So, yeah, and if you're living on fixed income, that can be devastating, because actually owning your home when you're on a fixed income makes you feel secure that you're not going to be put out. But if you have to pay property tax. And another thing, in Alabama, we have traditionally had very, very low property taxes, but in the last 3 years, our property taxes have increased by 50%. So if you live in Alabama and think your property taxes are low, they are
right now.
But they're going up, and if you look at it's Al Gore's hockey stick, because we have lived here 25 years. Our tax was the same for the first 20 years, and then all of a sudden we have the hockey stick.
We've started talking to our legislators about you might want to do the Alabama Economic Freedom Act with the property tax taken off, added to that, and the reason is. DeSantis is talking about getting rid of the property tax. He's going to start off by relieving veterans of the property tax, but in the long term, they're talking about getting rid of it totally. And all around there, Ohio's working on a bill to get rid of the property tax. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor there, and if he gets in as governor, they're going to start getting rid of their property tax. There's
Nebraska.
Nebraska's working. Their fair tax bill is more or less getting rid of the fair tax of the property tax, because that's mainly how people are taxed there, because it's big farms and that's where the money is. So all over the place, and then you got people like Elon Musk saying, well, it's just servitude to the government, so you got to get rid of that, and other people starting to say we need to get rid of the property tax over the states. So property tax is going to become a big item.
Hopefully.
I hope so. So let me ask you a question, because right here in South Carolina, we're as into the election as you guys are in Alabama, and so let's talk about that. People who are running for office. Okay, who are the people that seem to be pro having fair tax? And then the
Well,
people that are totally against it, I want to know those two because they're not going to get my vote.
we have a candidate, Barry Moore, who is running for the Senate in Alabama, and he said he would be the sponsor of the fair tax for the federal fair tax.
Yeah.
So
He's right now co-sponsor in the House, and as well as Gary Palmer and Dale Strong. Those three guys are co-sponsors, and so he would take that to the Senate and kick that off in the Senate. This has got to be done because these tariffs that the president's using, they're only going to go so far, and then we're going to be back into this winners and losers game that they've been doing with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and they could take care of all of it in one swell swoop, as I like to say, and that would be with the fair tax. It would clean that whole business up because the bill, when we did the rate study, and you look at the economic growth and everything involved with it, they determined that conservatively, the first year, the GDP would go up by 10% for the first 10 years, and then it'd be up to us to determine how it goes from there. But that gets rid of most of the problem that the president's worried about now, having enough economic growth to overcome the deficit and start paying down the debt.
Well, currently what the legislature does, and it starts in the House, by the way, and we have a sponsor in the House. Currently, we don't have one in the Senate because it's got to go through the House first. But what they do, the problem that we're having there is the House picks winners and losers. So, people who want to pay less tax, which obviously most of us do, I'm sure you've heard, we're not going to tax you, we're going to tax the man behind the tree. Well, unfortunately, what happens is the federal government comes along and starts planting trees in front of everybody. But with the fair tax, in order to raise the tax, it's a single tax, they would have to raise it on everyone. There would be no winners or losers. It would be just everyone would pay the tax. And so everyone would scrutinize that raising that tax. And actually, the impetus would be on legislators to say, I'm going to lower your taxes. And for, unless instead of saying, well, we're going to tax the billionaires and the millionaires. Well, there aren't enough of them. And if they took everything that all the millionaires and billionaires owned, in the first 3 months, that would be the end. We'd still have to go after the middle class because that's where the money is.
Well, the top 1%, which would be the billionaires, they're already paying about 30%.
But regardless, even if you took 100% of their money,
there
just aren't enough of them.
So. I said it lasts a few days.
Well, I know it only lasts 1 year because who's going to work for nothing?
The money is in the masses, not in the billionaires.
Right.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I think everything starts on the mayor's level. I really do. In the city council, those folks, should those folks be the ones we start pushing, and telling them about?
Tell your council members, tell your county commission members, tell your dog catcher, talk about the fair tax, because the more people hear about it, the more likely we are to get it. We had, and that should be one of the first things you ask. Whoever's running for office, you say, are you for the fair tax? We had, when Chuck first started this business working for Alabama, we had everybody in the district. They knew about the fair tax, and there was an election coming up, and one of the people that we knew was running for county commission or for city council
in Madison,
and he said he was knocking on doors, and he said, I knock on people's door, and the first thing they do is say, "Are you for the fair tax?" And he said, I can't do anything about the fair tax. And I said, no, you can. And we gave him a sticker that said, I'm for the fair tax. But letting him know that you're for the fair tax, he talks to other politicians. Yeah. So just talk to your neighbors, and say, do you know about the fair tax? And if they don't, you can get our, in Alabama, you can get our Understanding the Alabama Economic Freedom Act off of our website. And also, if you want a book, the red book, it's right there. If you want the red book, let us know. We'll see if we can't get you one somehow. We're spending our money. It's our money that's paying for it. So we would appreciate it if you would not just expect us to buy, a bunch of books for you, but we can certainly find out where you can get one.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, but something on YouTube.com, Mike Huckabee has the best explanation in the world for this. I mean, it's just, if you can't see the light, maybe you think, you're just in it for something. Go find it. Okay. Yeah. And the latest one he came out with, to me, is the best one.
Yeah. Was that the one with Steve Moore?
Yes.
Yeah. Steve was involved in designing the fair tax, and he can't really speak out too much about it. He'll go on the Huckabee show and talk about it and explain that it's like rocket fuel to the economy if you have the fair tax. But his job, he's stuck with the income tax and everything. So anything he does has to be saying, well, if you do it this way or that way, And
as a government employee,
he's not a government employee, but he works in that realm. So he has to be pliable and flexible. So at any rate, if you believe him when he talks to Huckabee, and why would he be talking? Why would he be lying to the minister? Minister Huckabee. Yeah. And he says, well, he's a minister too. I think he was a preacher before he was all this other stuff. Anyway, he says he's all for it, and he says it's really the way we need to go. But then he's stuck with his job. So
yeah, Mike Huckabee actually he is a minister and folksy, and so whenever he talks about it, it brings it right to home in an enjoyable way. But he does know about it. He actually ran for president on the fair tax, and it's unfortunate that he didn't.
It's kind of a marvel too. He said he picked that book up on a plane trip, and I think it's the first time he was running, and decided that he was going to use a fair tax after he read the book. Mm-hmm. And he read the book on the airplane. Yeah, and I'm thinking, boy, that's a pretty fast read on his part, and to pick all the nuances up and everything, like he was able to do.
That was the election that John McCain won the Republican nomination. Yeah.
2008, I believe.
Sad day in America.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me ask you another question. Okay, and this again pertains to fair tax and the folks who are running for office. So what kind of clout does the Speaker of the House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, have? Or does he have any clout when it comes to fair tax?
He's got clout, and he showed it Saturday. We talked to him, and he said, well, the governor's not pushing this bill, so it's not in the future right now. And he said, and besides that, he said, unless you can show me a proof of concept, I wouldn't be able to support it.
Yeah, we'd like Alabama to be first, though.
Alabama needs to be first.
Yeah, we've got a good bill. Actually, we are expecting to talk to another candidate for governor. Kay Ivey will not be governor next time because she's timed out. So we're hoping that we can actually have at
least one of the candidates involved and strong enough to say, hey, here's what we want to do in the state of Alabama and get it done. And so, and then alongside of that, we're working with the pro tem to start preparing for that in case he wants to do that. So
we had a meeting with the pro tem, Garland Gudger, and he actually was very interested in it, excited about it even. So
because he's a businessman.
Yeah.
Well, if Tommy Tupperville will just sit down for 10 minutes with you, I would think that would be right up his alley.
Well, we're going to get with his one of his campaign managers, the guy that is helping him in the financial area, and we've got we're talking to Heather Moore to help us get involved with him, and Garland seems to think that if you can convince his campaign guy that and get him to do something about it, he'll get the governor involved.
Tommy Tuberville, let me tell you this right now, if you are listening, or if word gets around to you, you don't need anybody. This is common sense.
Yeah.
You need to sit down and talk with these folks, Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah, we understand. Now, I haven't heard this, him saying it, but we understand that he's also for getting rid of the property tax.
And
That's not the point. That should be right up his alley.
Yeah, and he's interested in getting rid of the IRS too at the national level. So
Yeah.
that plays right into this, because our bill is a clone of the fair tax, and it gets rid of the income tax division in the state of Alabama because you won't need them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But this is perfect timing. Tommy Tuberville, listen to me. This is perfect timing. Charlie Kirk just got assassinated. Okay, I'm seeing more people are going to church now. I'm just seeing this whole revival of things.
That's amazing
right now. It is just amazing. People are ready to do something now.
Yeah.
So this would be a great time. You want to turn the country around? This would be a great way to do it.
And as a result of Charlie's efforts, we're talking about around the world this is happening. I'll bet you yesterday when that it was a celebration, it was memorial turned into a celebration. I'll bet you when that was going on that the whole world was clamped into that, because I just thought about it. There was a group of folks that I popped up on Facebook, and I said, "Whoa, that's Frederick Outdoors over in Decatur," and I knew about it, but I didn't remember it. And they had a big screen sitting up there, and all these people out there sitting down and they're watching that thing right there. I'm thinking, there are hundreds of millions of people watching this thing across the world.
It was interesting in South Korea. These people don't even speak English, and they were saying, "We are Charlie Kirk," marching, and there were a lot of them. And
Berlin, Spain, Madrid,
Yeah.
London. London had a big deal on 13th.
And I think Australia did too. If
Australia
I'm not mistaken.
did too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really enthused about college campuses now.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, finally a turnaround. I think we're seeing this new generation emerge, and they're getting better because their parents made dumb decisions based on dumb political people we had. I mean, face it, that's the way it was. They don't see a better way going with the same old loser message that we've had the past decade or two.
One of the biggest problems that Erica Kirk, the guy, is that the last we heard, they were up to 65,000 high schools and colleges calling in saying we want to be a turning point, have an organization on our campus. And that's going to be a logistical nightmare for those people to get that going.
They did that memorial in less than a week, so they can do it. It was interesting to see at 4:00 in the morning outside that stadium there were masses of people waiting to get in, and I don't think the thing didn't even start till, was it 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I also understand that there may have been as many as 300,000 people. There were as many people outside as there were inside.
There was more outside than were inside.
Well,
I mean, more than when JFK.
Yeah.
That was more than his funeral, or Martin Luther King, or anybody else. It's probably the most on record, if anybody,
Yeah.
I think it probably was.
Yeah.
So that should tell us all something. And you political candidates that are out there, that should tell you something. You need to wake up.
The communications capability in JFK's time was nothing near what it is now. I mean, instantaneously, it's in Seoul, now South Korea. They just have to be up in the middle of the night to watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, that's got to tell you something.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever you're running on in your political agenda, you might want to rethink some of it. Lindsey Graham, you need to rethink Lindsey Graham.
Oh, shit.
Elected.
Why did you go and ruin my day?
I saw a video that it was about something I already knew something about the Communist Manifesto, and there was an encyclical by the Pope in 1937 talking about how the ways to destabilize the Western world, Western civilization, and one of them was to destabilize the family, to get the fathers out of the family, to not, to take the children away from the parents, and with public schools, state-run schools.
And healthcare.
But I thought, that's Charlie Kirk was out there saying to be happy, have a partner, have children, enjoy your life. Don't run your life, running around trying.
Find yourself a good wife and get married. And have a family.
But another part of it was too I thought was interesting. I was in college in the 60s, 66, and I remember that was the time when they were talking about a woman being better than a man. It was was Nancy Sinatra had these boots are made for walking and all of that. And in the Communist Manifesto, it said, take the women out of the house, get them. And I thought, women have a superpower. We can have children. That is something.
There's nothing more superpower than that.
I think it's a superpower. I mean, being able to be a parent, and of course, it's a two-part situation. But taking so many women now think they want to have their life before they have children, but you only have a certain period of time when you can actually be a mother. Yeah. And anyway, I thought that was interesting that part of the way, that what Johnson did basically in the Black community was take the father out of the situation. And so I don't know what his drive was, why, but that certainly was working with the
population control. That's what his thrive was.
Well,
that plus he said, I'll have them under my control for 200 years.
For generations.
Yeah, he was correct.
Yeah. So anyway,
but we're at the time where that can be changed and it'd be good for everybody, not just one.
Well, you see the turning around in the country, and that's a wonderful thing. And Charlie Kirk was a big part of it. And it's unfortunate that a lot of there are children in young people in college age that haven't heard what he had to say, have only heard what someone else says that he has said. And so.
Well, I was listening to one of his clips because my son has been following him for a number of years. So Brad sent a video over, and it was a guy who thinks he's a woman. He's real concerned about his gender. But I like the demeanor Charlie Kirk used. And in this demeanor, he let him talk. He let him get it out of his system. He had on like a pink dress and weird hair and all that stuff. And so Charlie wasn't making fun of him, none of that stuff. He was just listening to him. And then he asked him, he said, so how long have you thought you're a woman? And he said, since he was about 9 years old, he thought he might be a female like that. And so he was really confused. And the guy was saying things like, they were talking about the difference between a man and a woman. And Charlie said, well, you could never be pregnant like that. And then he said, yes, I can. And he said, no, you can't. You can't be pregnant. And of course, my thing is the guy needs to have the monthly thing too. I promise you a lot of men will be a woman if they had that.
It'd be a lot easier for him to figure out if that were the case.
Let them have that. Then you're welcome to the womanhood when you can experience that. Then we'll let you in. But the point is I liked his demeanor in explaining it to him. And he said, okay, before you mutilate your body, seek professional help, professional counseling first before you mutilate your body. And I love the way he said that, because then the guy with the pink dress on just kind of looked a little jolted when he said mutilate your body. But he asked, he said, have you had that done yet? And the guy said, no, you're going through the hormones and all that stuff. And he said, well, before you have your body mutilated, get some professional help first. And
not with the doctor trying to do the mutilization.
It also, after I saw this about the Communist Manifesto, I also remembered a book that I read in the early 2000s called The Worm in the Apple. It was about the education system and how boys were treated in the education system. And they have been trying to feminize men. And so it's no wonder there are young men who are unsure of their gender.
It's just like the income tax. They use that to control behavior. And so they use the educational system to control behavior.
It's taken a generation or maybe two generations to do it. But it's reaping its benefits. And
It goes faster after that's the problem.
yeah, and that it's really, scary that that we're seeing the fruition of
Yeah.
the
That's
plan.
going through the school system, through the, I'm going to say, socialized network system we have for schools.
Mhm.
And that's all over the whole country. But we go to a church where they have a private school. It's a Christian school. And so you just see the number of teenagers there.
Yeah.
And I mean, and how they were taking church, they're in the choir, and all this stuff. But it's genuine. Okay. I mean, when I grew up, it would be, I'm going to go to church so I can see this guy, or I'm going to go to church so I can see this pretty girl. My brother even got in a choir one time, who never sings, but he actually joined the choir, and my dad questioned that, and he said, I'm glad, but you want to be in the choir? Well, it's because Kathy was in the choir, and he thought he'd be closer to Kathy, so it really had nothing to do with Jesus. But anyway, so you've had that. But these kids, they seem so genuine. And then another thing that saved our hide, what was meant for to do us harm, actually did us good, is when COVID hit.
Uh-huh.
Because a number of parents got to finally sit down and rest just a little bit and listen to their kids. And they discovered, whoa, what junk is being taught to my kids?
Right.
Mhm.
I think what was meant for harm actually wound up being for good, and that was COVID.
When you understand that you're sending your children to government schools, and the Department of Education, if you've ever seen Randy Weingarten, she doesn't love children, and there was another woman who was the head of another teachers association. She said, we want all those things, and it had nothing to do with children. It had to do with things that they wanted to have. Yes, if you ever get to see the video, it is amazing, because the woman almost loses her voice saying, and we want all those things.
Well, I'm going to tell you, right here in South Carolina, there's a number of teachers that are losing their jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost every day you hear something.
Yeah.
South Carolina, and I think some in Alabama too. I'm not sure.
Yep,
I haven't heard it.
Alabama, Florida, they're all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always hate to see someone lose a job, but I do not regret losing the people that because they actually were with children. They mold children, and that is such a,
Don't want to teach your children.
I wouldn't want them around my children.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, one of the best teachers I ever had was Miss White, and she was at Oxford High School. And Miss White was an English teacher, and she was also an art teacher. That woman, I learned a lot. She was a great, great person. I mean, I'm just telling you what, that's back in the day. And I will tell you, she loved all of us, and of course, in the right way. She loved all of us, and she wanted to see us grow. And Miss Ritchie at Geraldine High School, too. I hated her at the time. I thought that was the worst teacher. But I'm going to tell you what, she's probably the reason I do what I do. And so she made me get out, because I got quietest in Who's Who. And so she wanted me out of that. So at the time, I thought she was picking on me. But she must have seen some little glimpse of some kind of success. So Miss Ritchie, thank you so much. We're going to have to call it a day. Guys, thank you so much for being with us. How can folks find out more about fair tax?
Well, there's a website, fairtax.org, for the National Fair Tax. It has all kinds of information on there. Just ask a question and it will answer it. And also the alfairtax.org for the fair tax in Alabama. I'd also like to caution people, when you do a search for fair tax, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So, I don't suggest that you don't look, but if you find things on there that disturb you, ask someone who knows about the fair tax, and you can come
fairtax.org is what you.
That would be
the best way. And Mike Hug, if you find him on YouTube, you'll love that. Crystal Wooten, congratulations, you won the book.
Okay.
And continue sending emails, questions, Donna at donnasedge.com.
There's also Fair Tax Official on Facebook. Fair Tax Official.
There you go.
Yeah. And they have memes on there every day.
Guys, we're going to have to call it a day. Now, you guys hang around so I can get you set up for next month, okay?
Okay.
We'll see you all later. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.